everyone, my name is Larissa. I'm a doula, hypnobirthing therapist, and I work also with Theta Healing. And I'm here today with Hanya. So Hanya was my doula client and a very special client because Hanya did a VBAC, and not only a VBAC, she did a VBAC2. So she came from 2 C-sections and she had her lovely baby here with us as well. And she did normal birth, and she's gonna be sharing with us here today how was her experience since when she was choosing the doctor, and she will be sharing everything with us here. So you can.
Thank you, Larissa, for having me. Yeah, so like she introduced me, I had 2 prior C-sections, one about 7 years ago and the second about 4.5 years ago. My first baby was an emergency C-section, and then the second one, what happened was my doctor put forward that either I can try for a natural delivery or, have an elective. And unfortunately, the UAE has a very strong culture of elective C-sections, and my doctor she put the options, but she didn't encourage me for a natural birth. And for me at that point, it just seemed like it was more normal to do another surgery. So that's what happened, and thankfully everything went well both times. Now, the third time I got pregnant, I started doing a bit of research, and one thing led to another, and I realized that I had just been missing out on the whole, several things. First of all, sort of like the birth experience, and then also I realized the benefits were much higher for babies born, via natural versus surgeries, and then of course, you don't have an invasive surgery as a mom, so then the post taking care of the baby would be easier. And so then I had to change doctors because she didn't support a VBAC2. So after interviewing several doctors, I ended up choosing one lady, and I felt comfortable with her because the thing everybody has to understand that even though there's not very high risks involved in, having a natural birth after C-section, but there is a risk.
There is a little risk of uterine rupture, but it's a very small risk. It's not a big risk, and you can normally have a VBAC. Right?
You can, but it's just one of those things that does exist, right? So we cannot just completely ignore it. So that's why you have to feel somebody, I think when you choose a healthcare provider, someone that even if they have to make a call of doing a surgery, it should be done.
Yeah.
You're trusting them that they'll do it at the right time, not doing it too early, but that if they say we need to do a surgery, then that's the right thing to do, right?
So to be open for anything, right?
Exactly. So this pregnancy was different in another way, that I did a lot of exercise. Previously I hadn't, so it really helped with my swelling. I had very little water retention this time. I did gain weight, but I felt much more energetic and just overall better well-being than in my previous ones, because I was trying to gear up for this natural birth, I wanted everything in my favor. So in the process of researching the natural birth, I also decided that with the help of Larissa, that we're going to do, that it's better if you don't do the epidurals, because that can slow down the process at the end. And just like whatever, things can be in your favor, like be more relaxed and 100% get a doula to be your support system, because it's very difficult for husbands to be that kind of, it's something women are just better at doing,
So Hanya, she was only my doula client. She didn't have time to do the hypnobirthing, all the birth, the childbirth class. She has 2 kids and she was super busy. But I came to her house twice, and I talked to her and her husband for about 3 hours, And we went through many things like birth plan and how to keep calm, relax, and she was pretty confident. And the doula all can help a lot during the process, but if you don't understand many things before it, it's easier if you understand. So you trust more your body, you feel more confident, right?
Yeah, correct, for sure. I think anything moms should do is like read up as much as they can, research as much as they can, because when you know what to expect, then of course nothing will make you visualize childbirth until you really are in it yourself, but still you can mentally prepare a little bit to still, especially with the hypnobirthing, I think that would be perfect if women can do that for sure, because that would really bring your nerves down, So fast forwarding to, as my due date was coming close, everything was looking good. The baby was down. He was upside down, but not...
Head down.
Yeah, he was head down, but not down. He was still very high till the end. I didn't have any other problems, during my pregnancy. But about a week before my due date, my doctor who I had chosen so special, in a special way, she told me that, I'm going to be going... no, I'm not going to be going. I'm taking leave for 5 days during the time that I have my due date. And I was just really shocked at first, and because I said I chose you after meeting several doctors, and not everybody supports my situation, and and then she was like, you'll be fine, and my backup is such and such, and she was her colleague who I knew was also very pro-natural, so that was a good thing.
That's Dr. Raj.
Dr.
Right?
Raj. Okay, we can say names.
Yeah, we can say names because it's here in Dubai. Many people message me asking, "Can I have a VBAC?" My answer is yes, you can have, but you need to have the right doctor. So we can share the good doctors. Actually, now Dr. Raj, she left Dubai, right?
She's left. She left in March, correct. So my initial doctor was Dr. Breathwaite, who I'd picked, who's also very good that way. I mean, that situation was not a very fun one where she said that I have to be gone. Otherwise, she's very, I would definitely trust her, and she's done VBAC2s. I'd say always ask the doctor that you're selecting, have they done it? Exactly. Yeah. Because, action speaks louder than words. Like sometimes you have doctors who will say that, we support it, but then when it comes to the time, they'll be like, no, maybe C-section, and then get bossy with that. So I would say Dr. Breathwood is definitely a good option for, people in Dubai to look at her. Anyhow, so I ended up going past my due date, the day after my due date, I decided to meet Dr. Raj, because I said if this is going to happen now, although I didn't have any preliminary signs, but the consultation went really well. She actually suggested that because my cycle was a bit longer, that there's a probability that the due date was not exactly according to the computer. So she said maybe add a few days to it. That was her feeling about it, because my first one was also, he came out at 40 weeks, 39, close to 40. And so the thing is, so that was a Thursday. Then the next day, during the day, I started feeling a bit funny. I started losing the mucus plug, but could have been because of, she did do a check the day before, so we're not quite sure what
really happened.
Yeah, and then at nighttime, I started off with cramps, and then became a bit more. And by the time it was morning time, it was proper labor. I mean, it wasn't active labor yet because it wasn't regular, but it was still what I would say is labor. And with my family, we decided to make the call of going to the hospital, because Dr. Raj had told me that you should come to the hospital when your contractions are even 10 minutes apart. That's what she had said. Breathwaite had said 5 minutes. They're between 5 and 10 minutes. So then we didn't want to take a risk of, wanting to have that peace of mind, because when you go to the hospital, they'll monitor you, which is actually annoying at the time, but then it depends on your perspective, It's a personal choice, So we decided to go. And so for that whole day of Saturday and even Sunday, because I was still not in active labor, every 3 hours we were doing about 45 minutes of the monitoring of the baby,
Heart
rate, and alhamdulillah everything was stable. And then what happened? Well, we had a bit of glitches in the hospital. Like sometimes, the thing is, that's why I definitely recommend a doula, because the healthcare system, they want to do interventions and they're just kind of trained to do something or another. Like unless you're, over here we don't have birth centers or things like that. So although I'd say the staff, I was very happy with the staff at American, but just the culture is there of the hospital, So, oh, are you sure you don't want gas or you don't want? And I already said I don't want. Yeah, it's like I don't want epidural. But for them, it was like they don't really understand that, or like they're turning the lights on all the time and just like. So I'd say
switching off. They switch on. I switch off.
Yeah, exactly.
It can be very challenging. It's depending of the hospital and the doctor you have. That's why it's important to do a birth plan, but at the same time you have to be very open to, we never know what can happen. So we really need to contemplate the impermanence and always to have, or if you don't have the doula, have the husband very well trained, knowing what is important for the pregnant woman to keep this space protected. Otherwise can interfere a lot physically, emotionally in that.
Because the thing is, even though you can be very confident and have everything right in your mind, but in that moment, because you're in such a vulnerable situation and your hormones are out of control, and so you might, no matter how, maybe some women, like I was, even though I was going in there confident, I still had moments where I felt really like, I knew what I wanted, but I needed that person with me, that my advocate who can help me get through it, who I can discuss the situation, whatever was happening. So that way a doula, that you feel comfortable with is like essential for your birth experience. So my progression was very little, and the doctors and the nurses were at one point encouraging me to break the water. Now, with my first baby, in my experience, I found that breaking the water didn't do any good. It didn't bring him down. It didn't it ended up being a C-section, because they actually augmented me. And I think, if you don't have a cushion with the baby, he's a small baby, especially going to feel it more. Here we found out that he was actually in the water bag up until the end, so I think that was a good blessing. He was in a little bouncy bouncy bubble, so that was good for him.
And many things happened as well, that they wanted to check so much, to do so many vaginal exams, right?
And then everybody says a different thing. One person says, oh, you're doing great. One person says, no, you're closed. One person says,
Yeah, far, the baby's too high, when she was already like 8 centimeters dilated. And we had so many, people, each midwife was going there, was saying something different. So it was
quite challenging.
Yeah. But actually, when one of the midwives came and she said the baby's high, I took Hanya to the toilet and I literally saw the water bag and the head of the baby coming down. And then I told her husband that was outside and her mom, I told them the baby's here, and I told them call the doctor quick. And then her husband was like, these people miscalculate, right? Because they just don't call the baby can be high and the baby's outside, right?
Yeah, it was very that way. Towards the end, I became an active labor where the contractions were long and close, few minutes apart, at about 2 p.m. on a Sunday. And they checked me at about 6-ish, and they're saying, oh, you're dilated, but the baby's still high. And until then, the baby had been high, but I could actually feel in my lower back at that point. And I was telling Larissa, it doesn't make sense to me, what they're saying, even though I'm not a doctor or whatever, but it's something inside of me. I can feel it. They cannot feel what I'm feeling.
Exactly.
And I kept telling them, please call the doctors. And I remember before we went to the bathroom, I was like, nobody's listening to me. And then you were like, oh, just calm down. If the baby comes, they're trained to do, whatever they have to do. But it was quite unnerving that I'm saying something and I'm not being heard, you know. I kept saying that, oh, I can feel the baby, and tell them to call the doctor because they're just going around doing their business, like, you know. And I'm saying I'm not a crazy person. Just because one of their midwives said that, oh, the baby's high and you're looking at more time over here, I was like, no. And then really, like 3-4 of them, they side with their person, right? And Larissa said, just breathe, take it easy. If it comes, they're 100% trained, you know, don't worry. And then at the time when the amniotic sac started getting visible, that was like the signal. Then they made the phone calls, and then Dr. Raj was there within, I'd say, 30 minutes or so. Yeah. But it still took another hour and a half. I thought that was it, but it still took a long time from that point onwards.
Yes.
But alhamdulillah, like everything went well. About the birth positions, I remember I had
changed a lot, right? So we did many birth positions.
We tried reading, you know, I'd read that lying down isn't the ideal one, as we had, since it goes against gravity. But then we tried a couple, and really at that point I was so tired after like 40 hours of, you know.
Yes, Hanya went really early to the hospital because Dr. Raj wanted to check the heart rate of the baby every 3 hours when she started having, like, she said every 5 minutes surge, right?
She wanted me to come at 10 minutes, Dr. Raj.
Every 10 minutes. Actually, every 10 minutes,
and
yes.
Dr.
Then
it
was
5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then you went there 2 days before giving birth, and during the night,
the night you were with me,
couldn't sleep. She was moving, and I was trying actually to convince her to sleep, to rest, and between the surges, but she didn't. She was very excited but I convinced her in the end. We did some techniques that I could relax her, then I give some massage. It is about 4 a.m. I was like, let's sleep, let's relax, because if you don't rest before, if you don't have energy for later, you will feel like you want to give up, not because it's unbearable, it's because you are exhausted. So you need to rest as much as you can before, right?
Yeah, for sure. So at the end, the delivery happened on my back because I was the only way I could not.
Yeah, we
give
tried
my legs
first. The first position we did, it was on 4, right? And your arms was on the bed. Then after we went to the side position that we call Sims position. So we did some sides, opening your legs.
That was very difficult.
Yeah.
For me, it was very, I think that way, if you do a lot of yoga, then
it's easier.
You know, your muscles are all stretched out.
Exactly. For sure, exercise, yoga, stretching, all of that will make easier labor, and the positions, for sure it will help. And then after we changed it for the laying down in the back, but she wasn't really laying down in the back. She was, we put, right? You weren't laying down. You were, you had a very good support on your head.
Maybe 45 degrees.
We did a squat, so we pulled your leg up, and you had all that pressure, like helping the baby to come out as well. So it was good. Like,
alhamdulillah. It was, I definitely say, you know, it was a very difficult experience, and
intense.
It was very intense, and it you know, it was like, it is what it is. Childbirth for some people is not going to be pain-free, you know, unless you're a very good hypnobirthist and you've done your training, and at that point I was just really exhausted, and you know, I was super relieved to have the baby. When the baby came out, it was like, you know,
heaven.
Obviously, it was heaven. But even then, my brain was like, it took me a bit of time to actually get with it, you know, to realize, okay, like, even when they put him, I was like, okay, he's here, but I still felt like crazy in my head, you know. I think because I was in the hospital for so long and no sleep, but alhamdulillah, like within that hour, I was quite all right. Then I went, and it was amazing to get up and go take a shower and do your whatever you have to do by yourself. Otherwise, you have like a catheter, and you know, you can't do anything for the next 12 hours. So that way, it was a huge blessing, and obviously, you know, everybody has a bit of pain in that area, but at that point it felt like, is this ever gonna get better? Like, you know, truly that's how I felt. Like, this is like, but amazing, like after 2 weeks, really, after 2 weeks, I'd say like it was pretty much fine, you know? And so at that point, you know, I mean, if you look at the perspective of, and then, you know, just the caring for the baby has been like much better for me. And my baby's after surgery, like I couldn't, you know, here I put him in the tub sometime, like even right after, you know, when he was born, like whatever's easy for me, which involves like a lot of using your core muscles, which after a surgery, it's, you know, that's it. You have to, you know, give it a rest for 6-7 weeks. So that's been really a huge blessing. I think I've been able to be more connected to the baby as well, you know, because I'm less feeling like a victim, you know. I didn't feel like a victim, it's a strong word, because my C-sections were good, they weren't bad like some people have traumatic, but it is what it is, and you're going to be hindered in your caretaking of the baby. So that way, I've been really, and I have 2 other children, so it'll be even more difficult for me. There's plan A, plan B. If I ended up with a C-section, I'd had to stay with somebody, either my mother or my mother-in-law, and I had to organize all the things in my life, you know, and otherwise it would have just been you stay home and, you know.
For sure, this is
so that was a great
small work, but normal, everything is quick. And it's very important we say that in the labor of in the birth that Hanya, the experience she had, it's her experience, means that she didn't do some preparations, and also during the time she was in the hospital she faced many problems, and it's very important to put it here because it really happens a lot with women, and we need to protect the space of the women. Like if you have the presence of fear, you're gonna feel much more the hormones, the adrenaline being released, and fear is not welcoming there. And for Hanya, she had for me one of the big problem there. It was when the doctor, the midwife came, and she said that if she didn't have her water broken, she could have a postpartum hemorrhage. And this, she was all the time with some challenges that put her in the state of fear, and fear it's not welcome there, because we need the mother to feel completely calm, relaxed, and trusting, and all the team giving the support, and not telling her, oh, you know the risk. So they were coming and say, oh, we need to break your water, you know, because there is a risk, and we need to do this, to do that, you know the risk, and all the time that.
Initially they said that if you're, sorry to interrupt you, like if the heart rate is good, then you don't need to, you can go on, you know, if the heart rate is good.
They were in the vibration of fear there, and I was all the time fighting with that, because she was receiving some things from their midwives, and then I had to do the opposite things when they were leaving. Then I was working in the birth, positive affirmations and many techniques to switch her mind. But it's not like that, you know. It can be like that, but it's we did many techniques, and yes, it worked. But when you have many people coming and with the vibration of fear telling things, you know, that make you cry, make you stress, it doesn't happen. So it's very important to have people protecting, and also to be to do a preparation as well, because when you do the birth preparations, like for hypnobirthing, for example, we teach like eye-open hypnosis, we teach self-hypnosis, we teach many techniques that you protect yourself from people that is coming and bringing fear. So you try to keep your state of mind. So she didn't have time to do that. Anyway, she had an amazing experience at the same time, because she got her VBAC2.
Yeah, I wouldn't exchange it for anything, just to make it clear. Like, although it was super challenging, but it was worth it at the end when I look back. Like, at that time, I don't know. But I never had this thing like, I never said, oh, I want to do a C-section though. Did I ever say?
Yeah.
That's one
No,
thing.
you
Because some
never
people,
said.
they say that also.
Yeah.
I've heard people say like, oh, just cut me up, take the baby out.
Yeah.
But I knew like my mind was like, I don't want any pain relief. And I don't want, you know, like that way I knew what I wanted, what I didn't want. But the path there was a challenge because like you're saying, it got stretched out, the labor, I think because I was in the hospital and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I definitely recommend for those who'd like to try something like this within the right guidelines. So you need a provider that will still look for your safety. And I would definitely, I mean, I don't know if you come across articles where people are doing home births for VBAC2. Like, I honestly would never do something like that because there is still
you have to feel comfortable. Doesn't matter where it is. You have to feel comfortable for everything. Actually, if you want vaginal exam, you can have. Even if you want to have a peritoral, you can have. It's your experience. You can never compare to her experience or to your mom experience or to your sister experience. Everything is individual. And the most important is to feel good with your decision.
True. But the epidural for sure is good that we didn't do it because that would have made it even more difficult, the active part. So
exactly.
Although it's tough to, you know, bypass, but I definitely recommend that then you're holding more things in your favor, you know, more advantages to reaching your goal. So yeah, I'd say like
it's can be challenging, but in the end it can be very rewarding.
Yeah, very gratifying, very satisfying.
Very satisfying, like when you reach. But anyway, it's very important to keep open and to be grateful for anything that comes. So if you are trying for a VBAC, always be grateful because a cesarean section is saving lives. So don't never think I want a VBAC, I want normal birth. It's not that. What you have to feel is to feel grateful for everything. We have so many options and always follow your intuition and feel good with that. Right?
True, for sure, definitely. And keep active in your pregnancy.
Yeah, for sure. The exercise and the childbirth class, doesn't matter if you want hypnobirthing or not. I'm very passionate about hypnobirthing because everything is in our mind. I'm also now working with Theta Healing, so I'm going deep in the subconscious mind and cleaning, you know, like from the childhood, relationships with the mother, the parents, all of that can count during labor. That it's a very emotional, it's a very sensitive time.
Yeah, things can come out maybe from
things comes out from anywhere, so it's very important to work on that and forgive everything, love, and don't keep resentments, you know, because for sure gonna be easier and things will work out better. Right?
Yeah. Thank you, Larissa, for sharing this experience with me, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Like, I came out of there saying like that everybody has to get a doula. Like, even now I'm like, a lot of people don't know, especially in the UAE. It's not very mainstream.
Like now, because of Hanya, I'm having a client. She's local, and because of her, because she saw on Instagram that it's possible. She's Emirati. We are doing all the hypnobirthings, and she will have a doula. And she's super happy and she's being inspired from her. And yes, it's possible. You just need to get the right team,
support system.
Right support. That's it. Right?
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.